Good afternoon, all. And this video is about my second question I made about a conversation I had that was misinterpreted to the great app NeuroTranslator. And so here is what I asked. I'm autistic by diagnosis. I disclosed in a document that I had a dog by entering the word watchdog. My dog's name was Sailor, aka Brutus. Due to being autistic and experiencing the 86% U.S. national autism unemployment rate, I do not have much money. So the only way I could access having an autism service dog was to get a dog from the pound for $40 and train him myself. As a 7-year-old autistic child, I went through dog obedience school classes previously, so I had the skills to train Sailor to be an autism service dog for me. A bad neighbor took Sailor and chained him to a tree by a bolt fastened to his choke chain, starved him for weeks. Ultimately, Sailor died of the injuries inflicted on him. The neurotypical judge told me I lied because there were 2 dogs, and the same Sailor I listed in the document wasn't the same as my autism service dog. The primary service Sailor provided to me was to watch and warn me of autism bullies and danger. There was only 1 dog, and I was truthful. That was the question I asked NeuroTranslator, like, what went wrong with this conversation between my autistic communication interface with, I was referring to the Neurotypical Judge, United States Bankruptcy Judge, Tampa Division, the Honorable Catherine P. McEwen, and why I was misinterpreted, which had terrible impact on me, which I will talk about in a future video. Besides being called wrongly a liar. And I should say, which I did not include in my prompt for the AI on NeuroTranslator, but I should say that at the beginning of my case with the Honorable Catherine P. McEwen, my husband, who was then my attorney, and I filed a motion to disclose to the court that I am autistic. And the Honorable Judge McEwen denied that motion without prejudice, making a statement of something like, well, if it ever becomes relevant at any time in this case, you can bring the motion again. Now, I'm going to do a future video on when and why is autism relevant in any court case an autistic person is in. That's going to be a future video. But for right now, what I'm concentrating on in asking my question about what went wrong with this conversation and why was I misinterpreted and wrongly called a liar is when one of my inherent autistic traits is, because I lack a theory of mind and I can't figure out what other people would be thinking or what their mental state is, I wouldn't know how to lie. And so I'm honest, but I always get told I'm lying even though I'm being truthful. And it's always a misunderstanding and a miscommunication because I'm autistic and because these neurotypicals that I'm communicating with don't really have any awareness, understanding, knowledge, or training about autism. So here is what NeuroTranslate told me. Mary Catherine, I'm truly sorry to hear about the situation with Sailor. It sounds incredibly difficult, not just because of the circumstances surrounding your dog, but also because of the misunderstanding with your neurotypical judge, Catherine. Number 1, miscommunication of terms. The term watchdog can have different meanings. For someone who isn't familiar with how you perceive the term, Catherine might have assumed that it implied a different type of dog or that you were referencing two separate dogs. Clarifying the intent behind the word watchdog, that it reflects how Sailor functioned as your autism service dog, could help bridge that gap in understanding. Number 2, logical interpretations. Neurotypicals often rely on the interpretations of context and may not fully grasp the personal reasons behind your choices. Catherine may not have understood the depth of your connection to Sailor or the unique training you provided. To someone who hasn't experienced the bond between an autistic individual and their service animal, it might seem strange or deceitful that one dog could fulfill such a vital role. 3, emotional responses. Given the emotional trauma of losing Sailor in such a tragic way, it's possible that Catherine, lacking a deep understanding of your experience, might have acted defensively or aggressively when faced with information that contradicted her interpretation. This can intensify the misunderstanding and make it difficult to communicate effectively. In future interactions, it might be helpful to provide additional context about your side of the story before delving into specifics. For instance, explaining the emotional and practical significance of Sailor to your life as an autistic individual could help others understand your perspective better. Okay, well, I can't interact automatically in social interactions. The courts are a total social fest. They're a complete social interaction, and I never have gotten an autism language interpreter-translator in any single one of these courts I've been in, ever. When I inform these courts I'm autistic, they ignore it. They tell me it's not relevant. Sometimes, like Honorable Judge McEwen, they might, I would say, try to be nice, try to be one of the nicer judges by telling me, well, if it becomes relevant at any time in this court case, then, you can tell me. Well, but the problem is, and I'll do a future video on this, autism is relevant and material at every single second, every single moment in any court case. So it's a huge misunderstanding, and I'm still grieving the death of my dog, Sailor. And he's not the only autism service dog I've had taken away from me. I did a video on my childhood on my dog Thor, who is my autism service dog, and he was taken away from me, which I accidentally deleted the video around Christmas, a little before Christmas, and I've uploaded it again, but I haven't republished it again yet, and I'm in the process of doing so. But then after Sailor, we acquired a German Shepherd named Molly, and there's autism bullies in my current neighborhood, and they stole Molly from me. So now I've had the loss of 3 autism service dogs and who protected me and alerted me to bullies and tried to keep me safe. And I'll do a future video also on the autism bullying rate, because neurotypicals don't seem to understand that, or understand that autistic adults get bullied. And so this whole situation with Brutus was so traumatic for me, what was done to him, and that the bad person got away with it. And on top of it, I wasn't protected by this neurotypical judge in this court. And on top of it, I was called a liar. And there's no understanding of why autistic people are brutally honest, that it's inherent because of the theory of mind issues that we have, differences that we have. And so the only thing I can say for Sailor is rest in peace. And I loved you. And I'm so sorry this happened to you. And he got away with doing this to you. So I just wanted to bring this example up because this is a very common way that autistic adults and children are misinterpreted by neurotypicals. And it can have devastating, traumatic impact on the lives of autistic people when these kind of miscommunication happens. And I don't know why autism language interpreters and translators are not mandatory in every single court in this country, in every state. Or why these courts, now that there is this app, this AI app, NeuroTranslator, why they're not being mandatory required to use something like this. And I know that the AI has been used in at least my federal cases since around 2013 because the opposing lawyers and the U.S. magistrate and judges were using the same exact terms, things like myriad and ample, and it initially made me think there were ex parte communications happening. But I later realized that it's the same AI and it's drawing the same terms, maybe out of the cloud, I'm not sure. But so I don't understand why there's been such an oversight about these misunderstandings and miscommunications of autistic people in the courts. And of course, then this slops over and spills over into other areas of your life where other neurotypical people like target you and bully you because this kind of an experience has happened to you and someone has gotten away with it, of hurting you like this and killing your service dog. Not even a slap on the wrist. Not even a slap on the wrist. Not even being told that's wrong. And this really needs to change. I think this NeuroTranslator app is great. Maybe it will go a really long way in preventing these kind of misunderstandings and miscommunications. And I don't just know all the social rules or absorb how to have a social conversation as an autistic person the way neurotypical people do. I script everything out. I use echolalia from what other people write and say. And so the suggestions may be helpful, but I could say that I would never think of that in advance, how to do this without being informed by an app like NeuroTranslator after the miscommunication has happened. And that this is the first time I'm being informed what went wrong with my communication. So I'm thankful for that. And again, I highly recommend NeuroTranslator, but I also want to post videos on these kinds of misinterpretations of my autistic language communication and how very wrong they've gone and why. And there's just, it's like autistic people, neurotypical people are speaking two different languages, and it can have a devastating impact on the autistic person. So, again, if you like my videos, please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell. You'll be notified of my future videos. And thank you for watching.